Pools of blood, severed limbs, and blood-stained weapons have existed in Yandere Simulator for a long time. However, I never programmed characters to react to these objects. I was concerned that if dozens of students were simultaneously checking for the proximity and visibility of suspicious objects, then the game's frame rate would drop. So I decided not to work on this feature until I could implement it without creating problems. And today, I'm proud to say that characters in Yandere Simulator now have the ability to react to blood, severed limbs, and weapons without harming the frame rate. If a student finds a pool of blood, they will walk over to it and investigate it. After confirming that they have discovered blood, the student will run and tell a teacher. Then the student and teacher will run to the location where the blood was spotted. If the teacher doesn't find blood because the player has cleaned it up, she will assume that she is being pranked, and she will return to the faculty room. If the teacher does find blood, she will call the police. If any character witnesses Yandere-chan mopping up blood, they will realize that Yandere-chan is trying to cover up evidence of her crimes, and will react according to their personality and role in the school. For example, teachers will try to apprehend the player. If a student has lost a teacher's trust, they won't bother reporting things to teachers anymore. Instead, if they see something dangerous, they will go hide in their classroom. If a second student finds blood while another student is already reporting the blood, the second student will go straight to their classroom. And everything I've just stated also applies to dismembered limbs and bloody weapons as well. A pool of blood, a dismembered limb, or a bloody weapon are all indications that a murder may have taken place. However, weapons which are not stained with blood are a different story and result in a different reaction. If the player picks up an object that can be used as a weapon and drops it more than 10 meters away from its initial location, that object will be considered suspicious, and students will react to it upon seeing it. The first student to locate a suspicious object will run and tell a teacher. Other students will still react to it, but they will not deviate from their daily routine. If a teacher finds a suspicious object but doesn't find any evidence of a crime, they will not call the police. Instead, they will pick up the object and bring it to the faculty room. Now that students can react to blood, limbs, and weapons, the general experience of playing Yandere Simulator and getting away with crimes is much closer to my vision for the final game. And over the past month, I also made several other adjustments that get the game closer to the finish line. Previously, there were several features that were only compatible with one student, Kokuna Haruka. She was the only student that could receive a note in her locker, be pushed off the school roof, be splashed with liquid, be set on fire, be framed for murder, or be killed with heavy weights dropped from above. But as of now, it is possible to perform those actions on any student, not just Kokuna. Many of these features are self-explanatory, but there is one that I probably need to explain. To frame a student for murder, you will have to trick them into putting their hand on something that can be used as a weapon. As of now, there is only one way to do that, by sticking a box cutter into a box, pretending that it's stuck, and asking a student to remove it for you.
Would you please help me? I'm just a little schoolgirl whose weak arms are too frail to pull a box cutter out of a box. Oh, won't you please help me?
In the future, I may come up with additional ways to trick students into putting their fingerprints on a murder weapon, but for now, this is the only method. And with that, there are no longer any features that are exclusive to Kokuna, aside from features that are meant to be exclusive to rivals, such as the befriend-betray method and matchmaking. A while ago, I mentioned that the Occult Club and the Martial Arts Club are not significant obstacles to the player because they almost never leave their club rooms. So I've adjusted their routines to make them spend more time outside of their clubs. The Occult Club will now walk around school and investigate various objects that are rumored to be haunted. and the martial arts club will now have sparring matches in various scenic locations across the school. This means that both clubs spend a lot more time walking around the school's interior and exterior, making them more of an obstacle if you're trying to dispose of evidence without being spotted. In my last video, I suggested that the player could learn about advanced gameplay mechanics and murder methods by purchasing the information from InfoChan. Many people suggested that it would be more fun if the player could access that kind of information by watching anime or reading manga in Yandere-chan's room. I decided to give this idea a chance and created a simple prototype that demonstrates what it might look like if the player could watch anime in Yandere-chan's room.
The young woman struggled to calm her trembling hands. She could barely maintain a grip on her pen.
Steady, Yamako. You can't afford to screw this up.
Once her pen touched the paper, she would only have 60 seconds to achieve her goal. That was one of the rules. She knew exactly what she wanted to write down. She had rehearsed it a dozen times on a spare scrap of paper. Each time, she just barely succeeded in finishing within 60 seconds.
No more stalling. It's now or never.
She took a deep breath and began to write.
Asaka Seto will obtain a pipe wrench, a power strip, and a screwdriver. She will use the wrench to loosen the nearest water pipe and create a puddle of water.
30 seconds remaining. Her time was running out.
She will place a power strip in the puddle and use the screwdriver to expose the wires. Then, she will activate the power strip and stand in the puddle.
The moment she finished writing, the ink on the notebook turned blood red. This meant that her 60 seconds were up. And it also meant that the command was in effect. Several kilometers away, at the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, a young policewoman, in the middle of a conversation with her colleagues, abruptly stopped talking and left the room. She walked to the nearest storage closet and obtained a pipe wrench and a screwdriver. She carried out the actions that Yamiko had written in her notebook, and when she stepped into the puddle, she screamed in pain as thousands of volts of electricity ran through her body, fatally electrocuting her. She was dead before her body hit the ground.
What have I done?
It was the first time Yamiko had used the notebook to kill an innocent person. In the beginning, she only intended to use the notebook to rid the world of evil. She targeted violent criminals, child molesters, and so forth. Dozens of mysterious deaths were too suspicious to be overlooked, and so an official police investigation had begun. Detective Seto had come too close to figuring out that Yamiko was the person responsible for the mysterious deaths.
I'm not the bad guy here. She had to die. If I didn't kill her, she would have exposed me, and then I wouldn't be able to keep fighting evil.
Yamiko felt as though the room was spinning around her. She desperately tried to convince herself that her actions were justified.
I did what I had to do. It was the only way to continue fighting evil. The world needs me. I need to keep using the notebook, because this world is a rotten mess. It really needs to be cleaned up.
Life Note, Episode 7. End.
As of now, you can only watch one episode of this fictional anime, But if you approve of this feature, then I may create additional episodes that are each designed to inform the player about the game's various murder methods. Students are reacting properly to suspicious objects. Features that were previously exclusive to Kokona are now functioning with all characters. Club members who didn't have a meaningful impact on gameplay are now more of a threat to the player. The current build of Yandere Simulator is very close to reflecting my vision for the final game. At this point in time, there are very few features that are left before I can finally shift my focus to the first rival. I feel very optimistic about the game's future, and I hope you do too. Thank you for following the development of Yandere Simulator.